Journeyman Jimmy Black. We'll see it lock. That's how we do it.
Hey, Nouveau Africa.
Yeah, let them know. Keep your head bobbing. Keep your head bobbing.
Nouveau Africa.
Everybody throw your hands in the air.
Nouveau Africa.
Throw your hands in the air. Throw your hands in the air.
Nouveau Africa.
Alright, let them know.
Seek and you will find.
This is a story about Liberia, a country in transition, and the tremendous efforts of Africa's and Liberia's first democratically elected female president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, to propel her tiny post-conflict nation into a middle-income country by the year 2030 and to lift all Liberians towards a better future. The first slice of President Sirleaf's vision, the Agenda for Transformation, identified the priority areas of energy, roads, ports, infrastructure development, youth empowerment, and capacity building to put the country on a sustained development path. This was the path on which the entire nation was headed until disaster struck in early 2014 in the form of a foreign and deadly disease known as Ebola. The Ebola virus disease sent the country reeling with thousands of Liberians dead or infected, the nation and its people stigmatized and shunned, and the economy paralyzed. Ebola threatened to unravel the hard-fought gains the country had made since 2006, when Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf became president. This documentary looks at the impact of Ebola on Liberia and how far the country had progressed prior to the outbreak of a disease for which there is still no vaccine or cure. At the start of 2014, President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was in the midst of her second and final term of office, as the nation was turning the corner in terms of its development agenda. Liberia and its people were confronted with a global health crisis, Ebola. On March 17, 2014, 2 cases of Ebola were confirmed in Lofa County. The virus had entered Liberia from neighboring Guinea. By April 28, there were no reported cases. However, a month later, on May 25th, another outbreak of Ebola was reported, again in Foya. This time, the virus came from Sierra Leone and soon became a national health crisis, the likes of which this country had never witnessed. Between 2006 and early 2014, small gains had been made in rebuilding the health sector, but not enough to prepare the nation to deal with Ebola that quickly overran an already understaffed and under-resourced healthcare system. By July, the epidemic had reached a heightened state, becoming the worst crisis Liberia has faced since its 14-year civil war. The few Ebola treatment centers that had been built following the outbreak could not handle the number of new cases as the disease spread across Liberia. Healthcare workers, who were on the front line of this national crisis were seriously impacted. Hospitals and clinics, not equipped to deal with the epidemic, began to shut down as healthcare workers became infected with Ebola. Many lost their lives in the battle against this dreaded disease. To the healthcare workers of Liberia, some of whom made the ultimate sacrifice, the country owes a debt of gratitude. As the disease spread, President Sirleaf declared a national state of emergency on August 6, 2014, describing Ebola as posing serious risk to the health, safety, security, and welfare of the nation. The government shut down many operations and sent its non-essential employees home to prevent further spread of the deadly virus. Schools were ordered closed. Electrification, roads, and other development projects were suspended. Many of the major concessions engaged in iron ore mining, oil palm production, agriculture, and forestry severely curtailed their operations. Investments slowed as contractors and expatriates fled for their safety. Ebola brought the Liberian economy to a standstill. Overall, employment was drastically impacted as 50% of those holding jobs before the crisis became unemployed. At the same time, the cost of commodities, especially food, soared due to restrictions imposed in the shipping industry and the reluctance of ships to dock in Liberia's ports. This situation was made worse when many airlines canceled flights into Liberia and other Ebola-infected West African countries, fearing the spread of the disease. By September 2014, as the death toll rose with no end in sight, President Sirleaf addressed a letter to U.S. President Barack Obama. She appealed for urgent aid in tackling the worst recorded outbreak of the deadly Ebola virus, saying that without help, Liberia would lose the battle against the disease. She also appealed to President Obama for the U.S. to build and operate at least one Ebola treatment unit in the capital, Monrovia, noting that U.S. civilian and military teams had experience in dealing with biological hazards. Shortly thereafter, U.S. troops led by General Darren Walker began arriving in Liberia to provide assistance in constructing additional Ebola treatment centers, labs, and a field hospital specifically for healthcare workers. In another open letter to the world, President Sirleaf stated that the whole world had a stake in the fight against Ebola, which, and I quote, respects no borders, unquote. She therefore pleaded for a commitment from every nation with the capacity to help, whether with emergency funding, medical supplies, or clinical expertise. The international community responded by increasing its efforts to combat the disease and sent millions of dollars in resources and aid into the region. Foreign doctors and other medical personnel from around the world, including China, Cuba, Uganda, poured into the country to kick the deadly Ebola out of Liberia. Still, Liberians were dying at alarming rates. By October 2014, the number of cases was reported as high as 4,262, with over 2,484 dead. For a nation with a population of 4.3 million, the death rate was staggering. By November, with help from the international community, Liberia began to see a decrease in the number of Ebola-related cases and deaths, and more counties reporting no new cases. As of January 3rd, 2015, the total number of Ebola cases in Liberia was reported at 8,162, with 3,496 deaths. Ebola exposed major weaknesses in Liberia's healthcare system, but it also helped Liberia and West Africa raise the consciousness of the world for assistance in building a more improved, robust, and reliable healthcare system. The success achieved in reducing the number of new Ebola cases must be attributed to the many healthcare workers. Credit must also go to the leadership and determination demonstrated by President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who took command of the crisis and used her international stature in appealing to the world to join in the battle against the deadly Ebola disease.
Ebola was running after us, it was chasing us. Today we are chasing Ebola.
Before it was struck by Ebola, Liberia was a country on the march with a strategic development agenda to lift Liberia and lift all Liberians. This tiny country, located on the west coast of Africa, is blessed with 350 miles of coastal beaches along the Atlantic Ocean. Its natural resources and export commodities include iron ore, gold, diamonds, timber, oil palm, cocoa, rubber, and recently discovered offshore oil. Liberia's lush virgin forest is home to a variety of wildlife, and its forest resources account for 43% of the biodiversity in West Africa. It has great potential for the manufacture of wood-based products. Liberia has mountains, waterfalls, and lakes, and the country has many rivers, such as the St. Paul River that produces the Patawi waterfalls, the Nor River with its rocks and strange scripts, River G with its fast-moving rapids, the Lofa River with its rich gold deposits, and the Kavala River that separates Liberia from La Côte d'Ivoire. In 2013, Liberia celebrated 10 consecutive years of peace, and the nation is transitioning from a period of stabilization to one of transformation.
And we want to thank all of you for the way you have held Mama Liberia, the way you have promoted the peace. We just talked about 10 years of peace where people can sleep in the night with nobody troubling you. You can walk and go to your farm and be assured that you will be safe. And this is what now we on. The big thing is, how do we bring development to you? We started a process, but you have to work with us. The government can't do it by itself. All the people have to be engaged in it.
As Liberia's first post-conflict elected president, Madam Sirleaf embarked on a bold and comprehensive development agenda for stable and inclusive economic growth. Vision 2030, a development strategy for the nation's transformation, seeks to make Liberia a middle-income country by the year 2030. The first 5-year segment of that vision, the Agenda for Transformation, identified the priority areas including roads, energy, ports, to put the country on a sustained development path. Today, in 2015, the year 2030 may seem far into the future, but it is only 15 years away. With a clear vision, support for development, bilateral partners, strategic planning, hard work, fiscal discipline, and determination, Liberia hopes to achieve its objectives. 8 years into the administration of President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, we turn our cameras on some of the projects around the country that the government has targeted in its agenda for transformation, to see the progress underway aimed at transitioning Liberia. We traveled all of Liberia's 15 counties and saw firsthand some of the challenges facing the government and the people. We also got the chance to see and appreciate Liberia's natural beauty and the potential it presents for tourism. The development taking place in Liberia today is occurring on all fronts, with contributions from the government of Liberia, international partners, concession companies, business entrepreneurs, and private citizens, all aimed at improving conditions in the country. In this edition of Liberia, a nation in transition, we look at what is happening in the counties in terms of infrastructure development, the economy, the healthcare sector, education, and pose the question, is Liberia rising? You be the judge. Some of the most visible signs of transformation can be seen on Liberia's roads, which the government has been rehabilitating since 2007. In Monrovia, a major roadway, the Robertsfield Highway, from ELWA Junction to Roberts International Airport, was resurfaced. Tupman Boulevard, known jokingly in 2006 as the Washboard Road because of its multiple potholes, was redone, greatly improving the look of the city. The streets in central Monrovia were rehabilitated, as was the SKD Boulevard. In 2006, SKD Boulevard was a closed-off dirt road where the mangrove swamps were used as trash pits. Today, the area has been cleaned up and the road connecting Tupman Boulevard to Somalia Drive is the connector it was envisioned to be. Other roadways like Jamaica Road, GSA Road, Rehab Road, and SD Cooper Road have also undergone transformation from dirt roads to paved streets. Nizo Road and Benson Clinic Road were widened and paved to create bypasses around the congestion in the red light area. Caldwell Road from Bushrod Island to Bentall is being upgraded to a paved roadway. Solar lights, concrete curbs, and sidewalks are being added, and the old one-lane Caldwell Bridge is being rebuilt into a new two-lane structure. In 2007, the old Vytown Bridge collapsed into the Mesurado River. It was demolished and a new bridge constructed. In 2011, President Sirleaf dedicated the new, renamed King Zulu Duma Bridge, which connects the city of Monrovia to the commercial district of Bushrod Island. In 2006, the Buchanan Highway was a difficult road to travel. The once paved roadway had eroded to dust, with potholes, missing asphalt, and broken bridges. The 88-mile stretch from Monrovia to Buchanan took 3 hours of travel time. Rehabilitation of this important highway was done in 3 phases over 4 years at the cost of $33.7 million. Today, the travel time from Monrovia to Buchanan along the Buchanan Highway has been greatly reduced from 3 hours down to 1.5 hours, with a reduction in transportation and related costs. Construction has started on the Monrovia-Ganta Highway. The highway runs through central Liberia, from Monrovia in the south through Montserrado, Margibi, and Bong counties up to Nimba County in the north. This major infrastructure project, which is taking place concurrently in 4 counties, will, when completed, become Liberia's section of the West Africa Highway that will run in Liberia from Lokato in Nimba County to Bowaterside at the Liberian-Sierra Leone border. The road project is creating thousands of jobs for Liberians, including women who are taking on various positions, including traffic control personnel. Pavement of the 33-kilometer Bong Mines Road linking Kakata City to Bong Mines in Lower Bong County has been completed. The road was rebuilt under a concession agreement with the China Union Company. The 25-year agreement to mine ore in Bong Mine Range included repairs to the road, which has reduced driving time between Kakata and Bong Mines from several hours to 22 minutes. The Marshall Road in Margibi County, a 22-kilometer road from the Robertsfield Highway to Marshall City, is under construction at a cost of $19.7 million. Marshall is home to the Marine Training Institute, which reopened in October 2011 after closure since 1989. A new road was built for the people of BELLE YALLAH in the middle of the mountainous Bapulu Forest, where no road existed before. In addition to cutting through virgin forest, the contractors had to cut through the once invincible Goma Hill and Iron Rock Hill that stood in the path of the road. The total cost for the 60-kilometer road was $14 million. The new road opened up the BELLE YALLAH area, bringing countless opportunities to the people along the roadway and giving the people in that part of Bapulu road access to the rest of the country for the first time.
Once again, I'm pleased to be able to cut the ribbon that officially opens this Bapulu to BELLE YALLAH road. I hope it will be what I said in my first statement. We are going to turn BELLE YALLAH from a place of horror to a place of hope. Thank all of you for being a part of this.
Also, for the first time in the history of Liberia, the streets of VOINJAMA City in Lofa County are being paved.
I'm Roosevelt Flomo. I work with the county health team in VOINJAMA City, presently assigned in EPIDEMIC clinic. I'm impressed for what Madam Ellen Johnson Sally and her government doing for this country, because it have happened in the 80s. They cut our parents' salary and all for the quota road from Madikoma, from Bangla to Madikoma, and Wana material. And today we see ourselves like the Marylanders that can work on quota in local country. We are very much happy with the government, and we hope our early-led government will have good luck and they will continue their governing in this country.
Electricity is the engine that drives all modern societies. It is critical for development and improving the living conditions of the people. If Liberia is to transition to a modern society, it must address the country's energy shortfall. The Mount Coffee hydroelectric power plant, the country's largest hydro dam facility, was damaged during the Civil War and has not operated since 1996. In January 2014, the groundbreaking took place for the rehabilitation of the Mount Coffee hydroelectric dam. The project will cost the government of Liberia over $200 million. The plant was scheduled to produce its first electricity by December 2015. The rehabilitation project was suspended due to the EBOLA virus, and the delivery date has been pushed back. When completed, the power plant will generate an estimated 80 megawatts of power during the rainy season. The government has indicated that the cost of electricity, currently at 54 cents per kilowatt hour, would be reduced by half to about 27 cents per kilowatt hour. Other energy initiatives include 3 heavy fuel oil power plants at Bushrod Island. The 3 Corridors Project, which is constructing transmission lines from Monrovia to Kakata, Monrovia to Clay, and Monrovia to Harbel. And Liberia is one of 6 African countries included in President Obama's Power Africa initiative, which aims to double electricity access in sub-Sahara Africa. In February 2014, President Sirleaf dedicated its 60-kilowatt mini hydro plant in Yandohon, Lofa County. This $540,000 project is a pilot implementation of the Rural and Renewable Energy Agency of the Ministry of Lands and Mines. sponsored by the World Bank Group and the African Development Bank. In addition to these energy projects, the government has subscribed to 2 cross-border West African regional power schemes. The West Africa Power Pool Project, or WAP, and the Côte d'Ivoire, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea Interconnection Power Project, or CLSG. The WAP is bringing electricity from Ma in Côte d'Ivoire to 18 Liberian border towns in Nimba, Grand Jide, and Maryland counties. And for the first time in more than 30 years, the people of Nimba and Maryland counties have electricity. The CLSG project will be implemented in Liberia between 2014 and 2017. It will connect the power grids of Côte d'Ivoire, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea by constructing 1,400 kilometers of high voltage lines to connect the national electrical networks of the 4 Mono-River Union countries. Electrification projects like Mount Coffee, Yandoho Mini Hydro, WAP, and CLSG are investments being made by Liberia in the right direction. It is these and other infrastructure projects in other sectors that are needed to secure Liberia's future and transform the nation. Today, in the offshore oil exploration arena, Liberia boasts partnerships with some of the largest, most experienced, and reputable companies for the exploration and extraction of its mineral and hydrocarbon resources. Information, communication, and technology is important for Liberia's future in terms of income generation, job creation, security, education, health, banking and finance, research opportunities, and its potential to improve the way the government does business. The Telecommunications Act, passed in 2007, created a permanent regulatory body, the Liberia Telecommunications Authority, to regulate and monitor the telecommunications sector. In May 2010, a special purpose vehicle, the Cable Consortium of Liberia, was formed to bring fiber optics to Liberia. A month later, Liberia joined the Africa Coast to Europe Cable Consortium. On November 3rd, 2011, at the cost of $25 million, the ACE cable, Liberia's first fiber optic cable, landed on South Beach in Monrovia, allowing the use of high-speed and secure internet service in Liberia. Today, some of the benefits of the cable to Liberians include access to ATMs, high-speed internet connectivity, e-education by online universities, and access to news and information at the touch of a button on their computers and phones. From the beginning of her presidency, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf vowed to make reduction of Liberia's national debt burden, which stood at approximately $4.9 billion in 2006, a top priority for her administration. In 2010, the government won a $4.6 billion debt relief from the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank after Liberia met the requirements for achieving the final step or completion point under the Enhanced Heavily Indebted Poor Countries (EPIC initiative. The debt waiver achieved by Madam Sirleaf and her government enabled Liberia to begin to deal with its post-war reconstruction challenges. Under the leadership of President Sirleaf, the cash reserves of the Central Bank of Liberia, as reported by the World Bank, have grown from $25.4 million in 2005 to $414 million in 2014. Until the Ebola virus disease paralyzed the country, the Liberian economy had remained resilient, able since 2006 to withstand the challenges facing the global economy. Inflation remained stabilized. Growth had registered at an annual average of 8% between 2006 and 2013, the third highest in the ECOWAS region. Overall, the government made marked progress in its economic revitalization and the restoration of basic social services. To stimulate economic growth at the local level, the Central Bank of Liberia, in collaboration with commercial banks and non-bank financial institutions, initiated lending programs for small and medium-sized businesses and for mortgage lending. Initiatives such as the Village Savings Loan Project were created, giving local farmers who already had farms to use as collateral access to funding for improvement and expansion. In January 2013, the central bank awarded over 118 million Liberian dollars to 262 non-bank financial institutions, such as credit unions, to provide access to finance for low-income and poor people, particularly in rural communities. At the same time, Liberia's development partners and bilateral institutions continued their constructive engagement to ensure a path to sustainable and inclusive government. Between 2006 and 2010, the government of Liberia signed major contracts with international companies to invest in various sectors in Liberia, in mining, agriculture, hotels, industries, forestry, petroleum, finance, and infrastructure development. Foreign direct investment of more than $16 billion was mobilized. Although many of these contracts are in the early stages of their investments, some of their impacts are already being felt. These concessions, when fully implemented, create jobs, pay taxes, build infrastructure, and provide training and career advancements to Liberians. In the mining sector, companies like ArcelorMittal, China Union, and Liberty Gold Mine have created thousands of jobs in rural areas that had no access to employment before. In March 2014, Liberty Gold Mine in the Gola Cornet district in Grand Cape Mount County had employed 1,000 Liberians, many from local communities. ArcelorMittal's employment figure in March of that year for full-time employees was 1,199. China Union took over the BONG mines in 2008 with a $2.6 billion investment over 25 years to mine iron ore in the BONG mine range. From the company's first shipment of 50,000 metric tons of ore, Liberia received $1 million in royalties, $2.5 million in tax revenues, and $3.5 million in social contributions. In completing the BONG Mine's Kakata Road, valued at $18 million, the China Union Project created an estimated 3,000 jobs. In the agriculture sector, Simon Darby, operations in Bummy and Grand Cape Mount counties, employed some 3,000 Liberians, and all of the managers are Liberians. Golden Verolium Liberia, which operates oil palm plantations in the southeast, by March 2014 had already employed 2,471 Liberians, 2,212 of them in Sino County alone. Agriculture, if tapped, has the potential to become a key strength of Liberia. To aid in the process of improving conditions for farmers, the government and international organizations started rehabilitating farm-to-market roads. To help Liberian farmers go beyond subsistence farming, the Ministries of Agriculture and Commerce, in collaboration with the U.S. government, are helping to develop a better business climate for agro-input suppliers, processors, traders, cold chain, and warehousing. The USAID Food and Enterprise Development Program, FED, aims to reduce hunger and promote food security through increased agricultural productivity and profitability in rice, cassava, vegetable, and goat value chains. The FED program is implemented in 6 counties: BONG, Nimba, Lofa, Grand Bassa, Margibi, and Montserrado. Before, Liberia's farmers had no place to store their agricultural products. Today, the government of Liberia, with help from the United Nations, is building food warehouses and providing rice mills and cassava processing machines to farming communities around the country, giving farmers clean, safe, and dry places to process, bag, and store their produce. The FED program is adding value to Liberia's food security and helping to increase the market size and its importance. Laws such as the Small Business Empowerment Act, which requires the government to procure at least 25% of goods and services locally, will, if enacted, benefit thousands of Liberian rice farmers, traders, and processors. The hospitality industry has taken off under the leadership of President Sirleaf. Luxury hotels, including the RLJ Kendaja Resort and Villas and the Royal Grand Hotel. Other successful hotels include the Corina, the Provident, Crystal Ocean View, Bella Casa, Palm Spring, Cape, Golden Gate, and Golden Key hotels. All are investing in Liberia and creating jobs. Conex, an importer supplier of petroleum products located on Bushroyd Island, with specific emphasis on heavy fuel oil supplies to power plants, agriculture, mining, and manufacturing companies, is also making major investment in Liberia with the construction of their heavy fuel oil storage facility. Total South Africa, one of the largest petroleum supply companies in the world, with headquarters in France, is constructing 20 total gas stations around the country that will employ about 1,000 Liberians. Today, you can find Total gas stations in Monrovia, Buchanan, Tupmanburg, Banga, VOINJAMA, Ganta, and Greenville. This investment in the petroleum sector has created a competitive landscape, encouraging other gas stations such as SP, NP, LP, Kalando, and Aminata to redesign and upgrade their filling stations with modern, calibrated gas pumps and to create more customer-friendly spaces. In addition to employment, Liberians are also benefiting or will directly benefit from the housing estates being constructed by many investors. For example, Sime Darby built the Matambo Estate in Grand Cape Mount County for its workers. The estate includes 196 units of 3-bedroom apartments. There is a church, a mosque, a clinic, and schools, including a daycare facility for the children of employees. Liberty Gold Mine, which also operates in Cape Mount, is building staff housing and a new town to relocate an entire village that sits on the top of the gold deposit they want to mine. The company is constructing 900 housing units to accommodate people who subscribe to their relocation program. ArcelorMittal is gradually renovating the houses in the old Lamco mining town of Yekepa in Nimba County to provide housing for its employees. The local schools have been renovated, and ArcelorMittal is also repairing the Yekepa Vocational Training Center. In January 2013, the government of Liberia and ArcelorMittal signed an agreement for the rehabilitation of the Ganta to Yekepa Highway. The project was to commence at the end of 2014, at the start of the dry season. Before the Ebola virus disease entered Liberia, the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf-led government had since 2006, through its Ministry of Health and Social Welfare and with the support of partners, been building, renovating, and equipping hospitals and clinics around the country. Hospital beds, medical equipment, drugs and supplies were provided to health centers, and healthcare services were free in many of the government-operated clinics and hospitals outside of Monrovia. The Maternity Center, renamed the Liberian Japanese Friendship Hospital, was rebuilt in the complex of the John F. Kennedy Medical Center, the main referral hospital for the country. The main hospital was also rehabilitated and reopened with a new surgical ward. A new hospital, the Jackson F. Doe Memorial Regional Referral Hospital, was constructed in Tapeta, Nimba County by the government of China at the request of President Sirleaf. This $10 million facility, a 206-bed hospital with up-to-date diagnostic and surgical equipment, including the country's first CT scan machine, today provides quality health services to people from around the country and the region. In April 2014, a 16-member team of medical specialists from the Canadian-based Kolebu Neuroscience Foundation successfully conducted brain, spine, and other critical surgeries on 18 patients at the JFD hospital. To ensure that Liberia has the health professionals to meet the country's healthcare needs, community colleges and schools like the Dogliotti College of Medicine, the Tupman National Institute of Medical Arts, and the Midwifery Training Program near Zwedru in Grand Jide County are training doctors, nurses, physician assistants, lab technicians, and other medical personnel to service hospitals and clinics. Healthcare facilities in Grand Cape County include a 32-bed center in Sewu Kiawu Clan and the Richard and Helen Devils Medical Center Emergency Room Service at Bow Waterside. In Bapolu County, there is the Chief YALLAH Medical Center located in Bopolu. A 50-bed facility was constructed in Fishtown, River G County. To transform the lives of the Liberian people, the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf-led government recognized the need to educate the population by creating conducive environments that encourage learning and removing some of the barriers that hinder human development in Liberia. Early in her presidency, Madam Sirleaf started building primary and secondary schools around the country. The Ministry of Education, in collaboration with international partners, constructed more than 263 primary and secondary schools throughout the country, providing access to education in areas that had no access before, and reducing the distances that the students had to travel to get to school. To improve the child's chances, the school age was dropped from 5 years to 3 years old, and a free and compulsory primary education policy, subsequently extended through the junior high level, was implemented. Libraries, computer labs, and science labs are being added to high schools and colleges to spark interest in engineering, science, and technology. A new science and technology building is being added at the Booker Washington Institute campus in Kakata City, Margibi County. The government of Liberia, in conjunction with UNICEF and the government of the Netherlands, built the Ganta Public School in Ganta City, Nimba County. This school, located on 25 acres of land donated by the community, is charting a new course for the country's education system. It is one of the 21st century schools being built in Liberia with modern facilities like a library, computer lab, and science lab. Since her election, President Sirleaf has identified sources of funding to construct new community colleges in several counties, renovate and reopen older colleges, and expand the university system outside of the capital. New community colleges include the Lofa County Community College in VOINJAMA, the Nimba County Community College in Saniquile. The Bummy Community College was reopened to serve the needs of students in Tupmanburg, and the Grand Jide County Community College started operating out of the multilateral high school complex in Zwedru. One of the largest institutions, the Dolokele Bove Community College, is under construction in Banga, BONG County. St. J Vocational and Technical College in Gawulu District, Grand Cape County, and Tubman University in Harper, Maryland County, damaged by the war, were renovated and reopened. Tubman University has become a beacon of hope for young people in the southeast region of the country. The university is playing a major role in teacher training and in developing its own solar farm for power generation. Damaged buildings at the University of Liberia main campus in Monrovia were renovated, and a new campus with dormitories was built at Fendel. A new campus is being constructed for the Monrovia Vocational Training Center. The center will be granted accreditation to implement an associate's degree program. Having announced in 2006 that education would be the #1 priority of her administration, President Sirleaf continued the quest for the quality education for the youth and future leaders of Liberia, even in an environment of resource constraints that require hard choices. In January 2015, President Sirleaf announced plans to reopen schools on February 2nd of 2015, 6 months after the government ordered them shut down because of the Ebola outbreak that has killed more than 3,400 people in Liberia. Several institutions were established under the Johnson-Sirleaf administration to assist the government in its fight against corruption. These include the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, the Independent National Human Rights Commission, the Governance Commission, the Public Procurement and Concessions Commission, the Land Commission, and a special task force on land disputes. The newly established Liberia Revenue Authority, now operational, will ensure that everyone pays their fair share of taxes to contribute to national reconstruction and development. The nation's security sector was reformed with a new, professional, and ethnically balanced Armed Forces of Liberia. With international support, the AFL, the Liberia National Police, and other security agencies have been trained and equipped to manage security in the country and at the borders. On Armed Forces Day, February 11, 2014, President Sirleaf kept a promise to the Liberian people by commissioning the first post-conflict Liberian Chief of Staff, Deputy Chief of Staff, and Brigade Commander. To ensure that the people have access to speedy justice, President Sirleaf has also focused on the creation and construction of magisterial courts around the country. One example being the 16th Judicial Circuit Court in Bakulu, an impressive and the largest of such facilities outside Monrovia. In addition, the first of 5 regional justice and security facilities called the Hub became operational in Banga to serve the people of Bong, Lofa, and Nimba counties. In October 2010, President Sirleaf signed into law the Freedom of Information Bill, the first legislation of its kind in West Africa. In recognition of this, she became the first sitting head of state to receive the Friend of the Media in Africa Award from the African Editors Union. Freedom of expression is another noticeable change in Liberia since President Sirleaf came into power. Between 2006 to 2015, there has been a proliferation of newspapers, radios, TV stations in Liberia, with programs where Liberians can write and call to express their right to free speech. Significant progress has also been made in strengthening relations with Liberia's key development partners, multilateral agencies, ECOWAS, and the African Union, thanks to President Sirleaf's highly respected stature at home and abroad. Across Liberia, President Sirleaf is adored, loved, and respected by her people for the peace and goodwill she has brought to Liberia and the enabling environment she has created in the country. Internationally, she is admired and respected and has won several prizes for the work she is doing in Liberia, including the Nobel Peace Prize, the Indira Gandhi Peace Prize, and the Grand Cross of the Legion of Honor in France. In September 2013, a bust of President Sirleaf was placed in the Garden of Nations at the University of Peace in Costa Rica. In October 2013, President Sirleaf received the Entrepreneur for the World 2013 Award in the Policymaker category, presented by the World Entrepreneurship Forum. In the process of rebuilding post-conflict Liberia, President Sirleaf strengthened national security and good governance, managed the revitalization of the economy, and in so doing, restored Liberia's international reputation. As Africa's first female head of state, she is a powerful symbol of the continent's progress. Following 2 decades of devastating civil war, Liberia is now a stable country firmly on the road to recovery. And in spite of the Ebola virus disease, the country is a testament to the resolve and determination of President Sirleaf and the Liberian people. Since she was elected in 2005, President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf has neither wavered nor relented on her development agenda. Many of the projects featured in this documentary have either been completed, near completion, and others are just getting underway. Despite limited resources, the Liberian leader has vowed to complete these projects that are essential for Liberia's push forward. This sense of hope and bold development agenda that President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf has brought to her people is undoubtedly an important aspect of the nation's recovery. 12 years may not be long enough to achieve all of the socio-economic development goals that Madam President envisioned. Despite this race to 2017, when her term of office will expire, with the many post-conflict challenges confronting the country, including the effects from Ebola, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf has achieved remarkable milestones. Liberia is truly a nation in transition, and yes, is still rising. That hope, that determination, that transformation for a better Liberia is indeed the legacy of President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf.
Yeah, journeyman Jimmy Black. We'll see it lock. That's how we do it.
Hey, Nouveau Africa.
Yeah, let them know. Keep your head bobbing. Keep your head bobbing.
Nouveau Africa. Hey,
Everybody throw your hands in the air.
Nouveau Africa.
Throw your hands in the air. Throw your hands in the air.
Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
No Africa.
Alright, let them know.
Seek, seek, and you will find just what you're looking for. And your ticket has got the number, but it seems like you don't mind. Why you blaming man?
I don't know.
Why you blame the system if you don't care?
Yeah.
If it's good for you, let it be for me and my friends.